Are you familiar with HeartMath? If you're not, definitely check it out. They conducted an experiment which has now been replicated all over the world, and I feel it's scientific proof, if you need scientific proof for such things, of something that I've always known since I was a child. And that is that the heart has its own deep, deep divine intelligence. And not just spiritual intelligence, but actually very, very practical, very grounded intelligence to help you navigate through your life experience. So the experiment went something like this. They hooked a bunch of people, volunteers, up to monitors that took a reading of their heart's response. So they had the scientific machines to actually read and record the heart's response of each individual. And they flashed them various images. Some were very provocative, very alarming. I actually saw some of the images that they had in the experiment, and they were pretty gruesome. And some were really loving, very calm, very relaxing, peaceful images. And the results were brilliant because, well, people found the results astounding. For me, it was like, finally, science has caught up with what most of us have already known, that the heart is incredibly intelligent and has what I call a precognition, has a deep understanding of picking up energies about what's going to happen. So what they proved was, from a scientific basis, was that the heart actually, approximately 20 minutes before the image was flashed before them, the heart knew what to expect. It knew whether it was going to be shocking and gruesome or whether it was calm and peaceful. So there was this pre-understanding, this pre-cognizant response from the heart to the image being projected to the individual. So what does this mean for us? What does this tell us? Well, for me, it confirms what I've always known, that the heart is the center point of the body. It is the most intelligent, cognizant, sentient, empathic, compassionate, powerful tool we have in our physical bodies here. And it really is, it's where our sense of connection and bonding and love, it's the center of love, it's the center point of our existence, or should be. If you feel your heart isn't, if you're living too much from the head, too much from the logical, detached from your emotional, heart-centered self, I would suggest you look up this HeartMath experiment. It's very, very published now. I remember sharing this years ago when it first came out with my meditation group. Hello. And just being so moved by people's responses to it, to actually have the hard factual readings of how the heart is able to pick up before there's any physical evidence. Energetically, it knows, be prepared, you're going to be shown something that could disturb you, something that's going to upset you, or something beautiful, something the heart would expand when it was shown peaceful, beautiful images. And that's another thing. It really showed how when you, and this was across all genders, borders, colours, belief systems of people. They had a lovely mix of people, obviously, to make this experiment worthwhile. And everybody, when they were shown something peaceful or beautiful or loving, maybe a beautiful picture of an animal, for instance, each human being had a beautiful, loving response. Like the heart expanded, like energy moved, there was the immune system increased, the blood flowed better. Like, I don't know all the scientific terms for that, but basically there was a beneficial response from the physical body when the heart was shown peaceful, loving, joyful images. And of course, the opposite was true when they were shown the opposite images. So what does this say for you today? This message is to remind you that what you expose your heart to, what you expose yourself to, is very vital. It's important in your life. If you're watching TV shows, Netflix series, films that give your heart that awful, because the heart has its intelligence and it's responding to the energy of what you're shown. Even though you might say, well, it's just a film, my mind, my brain knows that it's not real, it's not reality. But your energy is going to have a response to some horrible, negative, violent thing that you're watching. For many years now, if I'm watching a film and some horrible violent scene breaks out, which often does in most films today, and most of what's considered entertainment, which I don't understand how violence is entertaining, but anyway, I just turn it off. Or if there's other people watching the film with me, I just say I need to leave. I can't expose myself to this because I don't enjoy it. It doesn't benefit me. I don't like looking at whether it's acted or not. I don't enjoy being a viewer of anything violent and gruesome and cruel. It doesn't benefit me. And even when I know it's just a film and all that kind of stuff, and in the past when I would have, as expected, you're conditioned to just kind of sit through a film. If you go to the cinema, maybe you've paid in, well, you have paid in, and you're expected to just sit through some awful thing. No, why should I? I will be left feeling miserable after that. I'll be replaying that violent scene in my mind. It's just not worth it to me. Even documentaries that are true and that are based on some horrific things. I remember a particular one I watched years ago with my brother, and this documentary, it put me to bed. I was miserable. And me being miserable about what happened in that documentary, didn't change what happened. It didn't fix anything. It didn't benefit the world in any way. So people will say, oh, but we can't be ignorant. We need to be aware of what's going on. And I always say, you can be aware. You don't need to be overwhelmed with it. You don't need to jump in the river and drown in that misery, because you're not helping yourself or anybody else. So I'm just going to move that back a bit. I would say, this is an opportunity now. We're really immersed in these fifth dimensional frequencies. They are a-flowing. So, June, May has been this lovely, stable, fifth dimensional flow. We've got some of that for June. But I would say enjoy this stability, enjoy this this beautiful time, because when we pass solstice and then we'll have eclipse season. As we know, eclipse season is about challenge and growth. So, to be aware of that. So what are you exposing yourself to? The films you're watching, the books you're reading, the conversations you're engaging in. I mean, a lot of this can be unconscious, I want you to be conscious of the conversations you're having. Are you contributing to the fear? Because this is what's happened with me. I've found myself, there's so much conspiracy stuff. I recently signed up to Gaia TV, which is like Netflix, but it's all conscious, expanding, truth-seeking, spiritual material, which is brilliant. I really enjoy it. However, in dabbling through, different content on it, there can also be, and just in general, in life, there's a lot of fear-mongering as well that can go on. So I found myself getting a bit sucked into that. And it was the same when I watched Game of Thrones years ago. I had to stop watching Game of Thrones. Like, even though I can appreciate the artistry, you know, I can see why people love watching it. I get it. It's not something that I just didn't feel good after. I didn't, it felt like a negative pull towards it. Like, it felt like a car crash where you don't want to look at that, you don't want to watch that, you're cringing looking at something horrific, but you're kind of, it's like this negative energy magnetizes you in. And I always know when I get that feeling that something's off and something's just not right for me. So I stopped watching Game of Thrones. I'm not saying you have to stop watching Game of Thrones. I'm just saying that's an example for me of something that wasn't benefiting me. Like, I wasn't feeling uplifted afterwards. I wasn't feeling entertained. I was just on edge. I was stressed out watching it, you know. So if you're reading something, if you're talking to someone and they're stressing you out, if your job is stressing you out and it's just full of negativity, you might need to reflect on that and reevaluate whether it's worth your life energy, your lifetime in that experience. Because at the end of the day, you have choice, you have free will, and if something isn't uplifting you, isn't serving you, isn't expanding you and helping you grow, you know, you have the choice to say, maybe this isn't the roadway that I need to go down. And I'm not talking about the grit of life. I'm not talking about challenges and spiritual lessons and growths. That is a natural part of life, and that there are dark times we go through and we just have to fall to our knees and surrender. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about unnecessary, miserable, depressing, violent content. You know, there's websites like that. There's YouTube videos like that. There's so many mass media ways for your beautiful, balanced perspective to be swayed in the negative. And if you're watching this today, it's a reminder to you that you have a choice about that. You don't have to go down that rabbit hole. You don't have to engage in those negative conversations that just make you feel anxious and cause anxiety. Because I've noticed with certain things I was watching or stumbling across that I was giving more energy to than I should have, it started to create anxiety. In bed at night, I'd be anxious about things, rethinking maybe the content or whatever. So that's why on Gaia, like, I'll only watch, and to be honest, like, Gaia is, the majority of Gaia, I think, is really, really positive, uplifting, beautiful content. And if you haven't signed up to Gaia and you're into spirituality, I highly recommend you do so. But this is about just being really selective about how I spend my energy, my time, my life force, how I focus that. It's all about focus. So, you know, if you're being pulled into something fearful, something that just doesn't sit right when you walk away, take that as evidence, as information to make a better decision next time. So I hope that you're having a lovely end of May. We're going into June now. We're going to have a lovely, dreamy, charming new moon. I think it's the 3rd of June in Gemini. I always think of my dad because he was a Gemini. And he was just so full of fun and childlike playfulness and, you know, that lovely Gemini energy. So I feel that that's going to be a very chilled out, relaxing new moon, which is lovely. But at the same time, it's probably going to bring us a little bit deeper into dreams and outer body stuff. So it'll be important as we move on from that to just anchor and ground, and to remember that we are here in our physical bodies to physically touch and feel and experience and, you know, meet up with people and engage with our friends and see our family and and hold our children and do all those physical things, which backs up our beautiful spiritual consciousness of everything. So if you enjoyed this message and if you enjoy my videos, I would so enjoy if you would give it a like, a thumbs up please, subscribe, share. There's so much more to come. I have so much more to share with you, and I just thank you from the bottom of my heart's intelligence to your heart's intelligence. Thank you for being here with me. Namaste.